Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Hub, where we break down the latest updates surrounding Iraq's economy and its evolving currency landscape. Over the past few weeks, conversations across financial groups have really picked up thanks to a surprising report that has caught a lot of attention. Multiple discussions and sources are now pointing to what could be a major development involving one of the biggest banks in the United States. According to these claims, Chase Bank may have started accepting or processing certain Iraqi dinar notes. If this turns out to be true, it would mark a huge step forward in Iraq's long-running path toward economic normalization. The community has always watched for signs like this, and the idea of a major U.S. institution handling the dinar is being seen as a possible turning point. The importance of such a move, if confirmed, is hard to overstate. For years, many people in mainstream finance have brushed off the Iraqi dinar as a speculative novelty rather than a currency with any real global utility. Seeing a major financial institution like Chase involved would instantly shift that perception. It would suggest that Iraq's decades of policy reforms, infrastructure rebuilding, and financial stabilization efforts may finally be reaching a meaningful milestone. This is the kind of signal analysts have been waiting for, evidence that international banking institutions might begin openly recognizing the dinar as a legitimate player in the global currency system. The 25,000 Iraqi dinar note itself carries a powerful meaning inside Iraq. Introduced shortly after 2003 during a challenging period of reconstruction, the note became more than just money. It represented a fresh start for a nation trying to rebuild. It symbolized resilience and the determination to rise out of years of conflict and isolation. This historical weight is a big part of why the dinar is watched so closely. Internally, the note served as a sign of progress, even while outside observers often remained skeptical. Many mainstream economists dismissed the dinar, framing it as a speculative gamble. This disagreement created a sharp contrast between those who believed in Iraq's long-term comeback and those who discounted the currency entirely. That's why these reported developments involving Chase Bank are so impactful. Recognition from a major global bank would push the dinar out of fringe discussions and into the financial mainstream. It would show that Iraq's long, steady push to reform its banking system, stabilize its economy, and grow its reserves is finally earning international respect. If this shift is really happening, it means far more than a simple banking policy update. It would act as a symbolic validation of Iraq's entire reconstruction effort, signaling a move from internal progress to global acknowledgement. It would tell markets that Iraq is gaining real traction and that its currency may be stepping into a new phase of international participation. A note once viewed as a relic of post-war rebuilding could suddenly represent a renewed sense of financial strength and confidence. If the reports are accurate, it suggests that the world may be starting to see Iraq's currency through a new lens. Adding to all this, well-known commentators like Frank26, who has followed Iraq's monetary steps for years, have suggested that the country's financial strategy is moving from discussion to real-world action. According to this outlook, the Central Bank of Iraq (CBI) has shifted from simply announcing reforms to actually implementing them. That's a major transition because real institutional action always carries more weight than policy statements. This shift is one of the reasons international observers are watching more closely now. One of the developments highlighted in this analysis is the release of a new 500 IQD note. At first glance, a smaller denomination might seem insignificant. But in the world of currency policy, moves like this can be meaningful. Countries preparing for big monetary changes like reevaluations or redenominations often begin introducing lower denomination notes. It's a practical step that encourages people to use their local currency in daily life, which is crucial for building real financial independence. It reduces reliance on foreign currency and sets the stage for broader changes. Analysts see the introduction of these smaller notes as part of a bigger, carefully coordinated strategy. Observers like Frank26 emphasize that these steps aren't random. They are the result of sustained cooperation between the central bank, Iraq's Ministry of Finance, and international partners who've supported Iraq's recovery. This level of coordination suggests that Iraq is working from a long-term blueprint rather than reacting to short-term pressures. It points to a focused effort to re-establish Iraq as a serious participant in the global economy. The core of this strategy is strengthening the dinar internally. By pushing for wider use of smaller notes, improving banking infrastructure, and encouraging citizens to rely more on their own currency, Iraq is laying the foundation for a stronger monetary system. Building domestic confidence is essential before a currency can become stable internationally. This approach emphasizes fundamentals instead of rumors or speculation. The impact of these monetary reforms stretches far beyond finance. They touch the heart of Iraq's national identity. For years, Iraq has dealt with heavy dollarization, where much of its trade and savings were conducted in US dollars instead of dinars. This trend was a direct outcome of instability and conflict, which weakened public trust in the local currency. Reversing this dependency is more than an economic glitz about national sovereignty. In recent years, Iraq's leadership, along with the central bank, has taken bold steps to reduce reliance on the dollar. Reports suggest Iraq is preparing to conduct more of its trade, including energy and agriculture, in dinars. This is a massive shift, shows Iraq's intention to reclaim economic independence. Encouraging both local and international partners to transact in dinars strengthens demand for the currency, increases liquidity, and boosts internal confidence. This shift helps stabilize Iraq's financial system and reduce vulnerability to global currency fluctuations. If the early reports about a major U.S. bank like Chase accepting certain dinar notes turn out to be accurate, the effect on global markets would be significant. In finance, perception can drive reality. When a bank as large as Chase acknowledges a currency, it signals to others that the risk profile may be changing. It prompts other institutions to reevaluate their own positions. Moves like this are rarely accidental. They usually come after careful reviews, regulatory coordination, and internal assessments. If true, it could mean that major institutions see progress in Iraq's economic reforms. This aligns with Iraq's own stated goals of fully integrating into the world financial system. Even if the reported acceptance is limited or still developing, the symbolic impact is enormous. It hints at a shifting global perception, one that sees Iraq's financial institutions as more stable and credible. For years, the dinar existed mostly in niche investment circles and online communities rather than in mainstream banking. But that narrative may be evolving. Historically, when major banks begin interacting with undervalued or restricted currencies, it sometimes indicates that broader transitions are coming. Iraq's central bank has already taken steps to tighten its currency auctions, increase transparency, and promote the use of smaller notes. These actions suggest intentional planning. When viewed together, they show a country methodically working to stabilize and strengthen its financial system. The conversation is slowly shifting away from speculation and toward institutional credibility. Beyond the currency reforms, Iraq is also working to modernize its entire economic structure. A big goal is to reduce the nation's long dependency on oil revenue, which has made the economy vulnerable to global price swings. With help from the IMF and World Bank, Iraq has been implementing programs aimed at fiscal discipline, transparency, and modernizing public financial management. These efforts are meant to attract long-term investment and build a more resilient economy. The Central Bank of Iraq has also been upgrading its oversight of both domestic and international currency flows. From digitizing payment systems to improving monitoring of foreign exchange operations, these moves are drawing positive remarks from economists. Meanwhile, Iraq's push to diversify into agriculture, renewable energy, and technology is starting to gain traction. These sectors are slowly attracting new business and investment, showing that Iraq's recovery is not limited to oil alone. To better understand where Iraq's monetary system might be heading, it's helpful to look at Vietnam's transformation as a comparison. Like Iraq, Vietnam's currency was once heavily undervalued and widely doubted. But through consistent reforms, manufacturing growth, and export expansion, Vietnam turned itself into a major economic force. The same long-term disciplined approach seems to be emerging in Iraq. Vietnam's story shows that undervalued currencies can eventually become globally respected when backed by strong economic progress. For Iraq, the reforms underway, ranging from fiscal policy to anti-corruption efforts, mirror the early stages of Vietnam's rise. Both countries leverage transparency, international cooperation, and internal modernization to change how the world viewed their currencies. Iraq appears to be following a similar blueprint, and global perceptions may shift as these reforms continue.